Yes, we got it. Cool. All right, I'm just going to see if more people are joining, so we'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes to fill up the stream.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So test out your mics.
All of a sudden, everyone's just dead serious.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get
It's
this.
a serious topic. So.
Exactly.
That's true.
It's a serious day, a serious topic. You know? can't banter with that.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Ooh.
I can also check out the stream on my phone. Oh, that's good.
8 watchers right now.
Good. It's going on. Hey, why can I... Oh, wow. I can't see, the live count go up. Oh, now I can. Okay, never mind.
We're becoming famous.
Yes.
Yeah,
Start,
this is the minute.
Yeah. We're going to look back on this in a couple of years. We're all, winners of big awards.
We better.
we better.
Hopefully. I wish I was.
Is that why you signed up, Mila?
Of course, always in for the awards.
Always in for the fame.
Sorry?
You immediately have adoration.
Oh, yeah. I think that's... I don't know. I think that's I'm not sure if this is my or it's someone other of my friends. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Thank you. Love you too.
Pro streamer right there.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Beautiful.
First time. Best time. Never doing it again. All right. I think we are going to start, if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Lucy, and welcome to this beautiful Purple Friday live stream. Today, we will be talking about inclusivity, as in the light of this day. And I am joined here today by 3 beautiful guests. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. And so let's start off. I'd like all of you to introduce yourselves to the viewers. Tell me something about yourself, where you're from, what your goals are. It doesn't matter. Just talk to me, all right? So, Mila, would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Mila. I'm 21 years old. I don't know how many categories we have to check here. I just love creativity, being open, and being happy. Currently studying 2 degrees at Hanze
Wow.
in Groningen, so that's always fun.
Which one are you studying?
International business I started, but then I kind of felt like it was missing something, so then I also started art history last year. And
Nice.
that's super interesting. Yeah, so I'm very busy.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Fair.
Who will you give the word to?
Arthur.
Me? All right. Okay, so I'm Arthur. I'm 23 years old now. Jesus. I'm from Paris, born and raised. I study psychology and economics at UCG, which is one of the faculty of the RUG. And hopefully going for a master in behavioral economics next year. Fingers crossed. And yeah, I do wakeboarding, dancing, play basketball.
What kind of
train more.
dancing?
Pretty much quite different ones actually. I do jazz, I do hip hop, I do salsa, I do rock, a bit of pole dancing. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Thank you. That leaves
That
Fran.
leaves just me. So I'm Fran, 25 years old since yesterday, quarter century in the pocket. I am a 3rd-year CMD student, just like Lucy. I like to hang out with people. I'm a very social animal. And I also like to work on myself. I'm quite obsessed with personal growth and development. And I guess that would be my my very, very short bio.
Yes, you are very obsessed with personal growth.
I'm very obsessed.
Only good.
A little bit too much, but hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like even when you send voice clip, it sounds so inspirational.
Yeah.
Like hello, Arthur. It's like, you know, I feel like
You
tailored
feel like
for
the
me.
chosen one.
Exactly, for real. I feel like I'm the chosen one.
I think when I was a kid, I fell into a kettle filled with caffeine, and it just never left my
Never
system.
went away.
Fair enough, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys. And before we start with the discussion of today, I'd like to talk a bit about what Purple Friday is for maybe the viewers that don't know for sure or just here to check us out, and also for you guys that we're all on the same topic here. So every year on the Friday that's nearest to the 11th of December, wow, that was a whole mouthful, we celebrate Purple Friday. And Purple Friday started out as an anti-bullying campaign for non-straight sexual orientation. but it has now grown as a festivity of acceptance and a festivity of growth across the entire Netherlands. So it's celebrated in high schools, universities like we are doing right now, and it's a day of acceptance of everything. And in the spirit of the day, we will have a discussion about inclusivity. And that can be about inclusivity in your own life, in the Hanze, in what you experience in education, and we'll get to that in a second. And as we know, to the live stream viewers, we have 3 lovely guests here today, but we also have you guys. So I want you guys to feel free to chat with us. If you have a question for any of us, post it in the chat, or if I ask, for example, to the guests, what is your definition of inclusivity, you're also free to comment that in the chat, and I'll, in the meantime, be looking it up and talking to the guests about what is being said. So absolutely feel free to do so. The more content, the merrier. And then, if there's not any questions from the guests, is that all clear?
Crystal.
Nice. I'd like to start, and I'd like all of you to give me your definition of inclusivity. What does it mean to you? What do you think it stands for? And I'll give you a short moment to think about it before I check out the chats.
I had 2 weeks to think about this, and I still haven't come up with like a proper definition. It's a really difficult term to really,
It is.
wrap your head around.
It is. You can also say like a little bit what it means to you. Also fine. So it's who am I gonna pick to start? No, Frod.
All right. Yeah, I'll kick it off. Cool. So inclusivity to me, I think what I would say that it means is that it allows people the opportunity to do something. So I think being inclusive, you would try to give everyone the opportunity to join something or try something, regardless of who you are, where you're from, your height, your hair color, your ethnicity, that you kind of get the opportunity to try things, and that you're welcomed for that.
Is being welcome very important to you in inclusivity?
No, it's not very important to me to be welcome. I like to welcome people, but I think it's more important to be able to participate, because I think you can also be inclusive as a group or as an organization without necessarily making everyone feel welcome, because a lot of us don't really feel welcome when we do things. But I think having the opportunity at least to be there and to participate, that to me would be more the inclusivity part.
The baseline of inclusivity, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
What do you think, Mila?
I love that. I love your definition. It shows like it makes like a different light spot on a lot of situations also in my life, I think. I don't know what I thought. For me, I had the whole day to think about it. For me, it's more about making people seem equal and not discriminating or, I don't know, making somebody feel uncomfortable because of the way that they are or they look. And also in connection with your welcoming, I think that's a big part. But you can still welcome somebody with judgment or, basically an atmosphere that is not making another person feel comfortable. And I think just equality in general and respecting especially everybody, how they are, and also what they're doing. It's not just who we are, but also our actions. I think that's inclusivity for me.
Would you say we could show more inclusivity in our actions as people?
Yeah, especially also our background thoughts or on like a different level. I think it's as well important, not just to show in our actions, but really stand behind those actions as well.
Yeah.
Because nowadays everybody can do something or post something on Instagram, and that's an action, but it's most of the time not really representative of how a person is feeling, or it doesn't come across as earnest. So I also think, the thought behind it makes it count.
Yeah, so it's not just how do you call this in English? I'm not sure, like gedoogd. I think Frank can help me with this.
I don't think there's an English word for
okay.
that.
Well, it's
like tolerated.
Tolerated, because sometimes things are tolerated but not accepted. But you say that it's like true acceptance in the nature is important as well. Fair. That also resonates with the comment we got, is acceptance of everyone and anyone's personal subjective truth.
Yeah, that's very well phrased.
Very much
Acceptance of
so.
anyone and everyone's personal truth.
Yes.
That I find interesting, because what if someone holds like a very extreme belief?
Fair.
Should we always be acceptant of that?
What do you think, Fran?
I don't know. I think about this sort of stuff a lot, like how to be acceptant of people, and can you appreciate someone for the human that they are and the beliefs that they are, but still not be entirely acceptant of them. So, for example, I think religion would be a good place to test that idea. If you have someone who has a radical belief in a certain religion, maybe to the belief that they become violent, or maybe to the belief that they intrude in other people's personal space, then I don't want to accept their belief regardless, because it also harms others. But I still like to accept them as a being, because they're still human, they're here, there's a reason why they have this belief system, it comes from somewhere. But I wouldn't necessarily always accept everyone. I think sometimes I would also exclude people, because, it might be dangerous to other people, or it might be harmful in ways.
So for you, there's an ethical component as well.
Definitely big
Okay.
ethical component. Yeah.
Interesting. I believe that's kind of resonates with like Buddhism, if I'm right.
Well,
The metta.
the metta, loving kindness.
Yes,
Yeah.
basically. Yes. Arthur, what do you think of this?
No, I think so far all of this is very fair. What I really like is that you actually included the element of opportunity in what you were saying, and you said something more about tolerance, I would say. But for me, something that really stuck to my mind was that is the feeling of being left out, and that we should not leave anyone out. Of course, there is a certain limit, as Fran just mentioned, but yeah, I think for me, really what stuck for inclusivity is that you don't leave anyone out just because you, somehow do not like them or dislike them just a little. And I think for me, it really stuck with this. It's something like a bit more proactive, that you really try to make everyone feel welcome, give them the opportunity to join and to feel not just tolerated, but accepted to a certain extent. But you really take actions, just like you said earlier as well. Really something where you work on it, kind of. Like, when you, for instance, make a party or like throw a party, and then you don't want anyone to feel left out. You want to be able to invite as many people that you care about, because you don't want them to feel excluded. Exactly.
Yes. Would you say then being left out, or if people are being left out, that also has to do with judging the book by its cover sometimes?
I think, very often, probably, for sure. Because like people can be very quick to judge, but most often we can't blame them too harshly for that, because very often it's just a bias or something that's completely automatic. It's a reflex. It's for their own survival, sort of, and they need to activate another system in their brain to realize that what they're seeing as such a huge difference actually is not that big, and that you have so many things in common that you could include each other on so many other levels. I mean, same thing, for instance, in a relationship. I don't think that having someone that's extremely similar to you is always very interesting. You also want things where you include the other person, but also times where you want to have your own thing, or you want them to have their own thing.
Would you say it's important for every human that's developing to really take experimenting as a necessity in their life to understand different cultures and people?
Oh yeah, totally. I
Totally.
mean, I've experienced that firsthand, that like when you go places and you experience other people's opinions and education and just, culture as a very broad term, you understand them so much better, and you try to see as well past what the predefined bias that you have of them, and kind of realize that, they have similar worries, and they have similar joys, and they have similar preferences. So I 100% agree. And it's actually quite funny that you mentioned that. A couple of days ago, my roommate came up to me and she was like, you know what? We should go to a Nazi rally. And I was like, wow, okay. Actually, I mean, yeah, why not? Like, not that I want to go there, but like, she was like, because it would be interesting to see what kind of people are there. What kind of way do they think? Do they really are they just this like huge block of like people? I obviously do not stand behind the ideology, but I think the it's very extreme, but I think it's kind of the idea a little, but again, pushed to
Yeah.
the extreme.
I think
I
it's
love
very
that.
yeah. I was
That's
just gonna
really
say,
awesome.
yeah, that you're open to that kind of extremism in a way, whether that's negative or positive. I think it's amazing that you open yourself to those things, and more people do. What do you guys think about that? Should people open themselves more for the extreme edges of this world?
I think because obviously inclusivity, it also closely relates to diversity, which is something that we talk about a lot in the past 5 to 10 years. It's like really a hot topic. To me, a diversity of ideas is really important. I think that's how we sharpen each other. And I also think that's what university is made for. I have an idea and I just kind of put that to the test. You know, I'm a personal growth junkie and I think this is the way to go. But then maybe Mila over here, she lives a completely different lifestyle. And I could learn from her because she has a different opinion and she has a different belief. And I think by really going to an extreme, like you just suggested, I think it's really powerful to not exclude a group of people, which is very easy to do because they are the other, or they have this other belief, or they're extremists, or they're Nazis, or racist, or whatever. But if you exclude them, that's where the dialogue ends. And I think when the dialogue ends, there's no way to interact with each other anymore, and then you're never going to come back together. And I think the name of this event was also Let Us All Unite. And I think that's ultimately what we should strive to do, like come together as humans, even though we are super diverse in our opinions, in our beliefs, in the things we hold to be true, because that's how we learn. So I think it's brilliant if you would do that. And not because you identify as a Nazi. I think that should be like
Absolutely not.
super
Thank you
clear,
very much.
right? But it could be very easily conflated that if you say, I go to a Nazi rally, people start calling you a Nazi.
Yeah.
But I think it's very inspiring to actually go there just to feel that.
Exactly. No, exactly. My idea is not to embrace it. Absolutely not. But like, I want to be very clear about that.
That's okay.
But I think to get a taste of what it's all about, it can also tell you so much more about other people. Because like, again, you have this pre-made idea of them, and as you said, then the dialogue just ends. It doesn't mean that they are right or that they should continue believing what they believe. But if you don't know what is up with them, you cannot really, you cannot understand why you exclude them, and you cannot understand how to find a solution to make them see what you see. So
There's this guy, this black guy, Daryl Davis, and he would go to KKK rallies.
Mhm.
And over his life, he converted like 100 KKK members to no longer be part of the Klan. But he would just go there to the rallies, and obviously they are very anti-black. And that to me is so powerful. And when asked why he went there, he said, so I could understand them, right?
Dangerous
I
as
didn't
well.
understand why they hated me, and because they didn't know me, and I wanted to know, why do you hate me? And by
Yeah.
asking that question, he figured out, and they also figured out, that they didn't really hate him. You know, there was some underlying cause. And from that place, they were able to connect, which is...
That's interesting how then hate can redirect something else, you know? That's interesting.
What I think here is also important when we're talking about extremes, that you need courage for this. You cannot just, because it's really out of your comfort zone and your belief system and what you've been taught, for example, about the Nazis. So it takes a high amount of courage, I think, and also making yourself vulnerable, because you don't just want to go there and be like, oh, I don't like this, even though you're there, but you also then want to experience it fully. And I think that goes hand in hand with being very brave, which I think is very admirable in that case. And also, yeah, just being so vulnerable and open that you can fully experience this to then make your own opinion about it. Yeah, I think that's a very important part here as well.
Amazing. Also a question for chat. What would now be an event that pops up in your head? Well, you already answered. That you would like to have the courage to go to, that you think you might need to learn more about. Do you have any ideas for something that's happening right now that you could learn more about in that sense? Something extreme?
This, for me, in a way, I've been trying to explore this idea of diversity and inclusion more, because I have a pretty, I got my view on this, and I actually like to stress test that by talking to people who are more more in favor and more like really they hold the idea in a high esteem, like feminism as well. I'm very into like masculinity, for example, and I really like to learn that other part, because to me, you know, sometimes I'm judgy about that, and hence I like to have these conversations with people that I disagree with. And then for me, it's like the art is to really try to listen then, and not, you know, splurt out my preconceived notions, but just to kind of soak it in and then, you know, soak it in and process it, and maybe form better ideas.
Amazing.
Because of that.
I think that's courage, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mila, do you have any ideas in mind?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's okay if you don't feel the need to do these kinds of things. That's also
Well,
an
I mean,
option.
for me, it starts simple. I'm not like the big event person, or I haven't been that yet. So for me, it would already, I don't know, this year is so ridiculous, but I'm not a fan of techno music. Yes, I know my friends would hate me saying this, because all my friends love techno music.
Our hearts.
And then,
no.
and then we went to like, Paradigm Festival and everything. I was like, okay, I'll try this out and I'll see how it goes, because that's like very intense. I feel like also with a lot of people taking substances. And I actually had a great time. So, I was really like into the music, and just, I think it, especially on like, if a lot of people do the same thing, like dancing or something, you get so into like a certain zone that you really feel it then. And I don't know, it was a great experience. So I will definitely, push myself more to go to things like that.
Amazing.
So my friends are already planning festival trips and everything. So that will be very new to me. It's not as radical as I don't know, a Nazi thing, but yeah, baby steps, I would say, and then who knows where I'll go to in a few years.
Amazing.
I'm very curious, because you just mentioned like when you're there, you join the group basically to experience it fully. If you would go, let's say you would go to a Nazi rally. Yeah, I know.
Oh, I knew you were
I'm
going to
gonna
make
make
that
this-
switch. Oh my God.
Would you, like, for sake of really experiencing it, like join the chanting, for example? Like, would
Oh,
you
hell no.
be part? Where would the
No.
boundary be for you when you go
Because
to an event like that?
I don't believe in that. My point in going there is to try to understand the hate that I have of them, and so understand also their position and get a better grasp of who they are. Because as a psychologist, it's also extremely interesting to like go and see those people and analyze them. Because I don't, we kind of are in a bubble. I don't really have friends that are openly fascist. So I've never really met one either. So it's more out of curiosity and understanding. So like my beliefs are strong enough, and I think that's what I wanted to say as well earlier, is that if you're strong enough in your position, you can go there, take in whatever they're giving you, and then analyze it and kind of try to bring up a solution, so send something back. But no, I would not chant, I would not pretend or like try to join, or no.
Where would the line be for you? Like, how far would you be willing to kind of join them to learn from them, and where would you say, no, this is not me, this is too much?
Well, I wouldn't participate in whatever they do and whatever they chant or whatever they say, but I am open to listen and to talk with them. But obviously it's till the point that I accept the situation, because listening is not, it is doing something, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to go there. Yeah, I don't know, I'm generalizing, but like shaving my head and like going with like crosses on the left side of my arm. So yeah, it's I think that would be the line for me, like definitely until I would stick to my beliefs for sure.
I think that's important here as well, to know your own limits and not go somewhere like completely unsure of what you're going to do, but to maybe set some boundaries for yourself before you attend something radical or extreme. Like I knew with a techno rave, I would not take drugs. Like that was for sure for me. And once you know that and you set that limit, you're very comfortable as well, because you you kind of know where it's going, or you can still like
Your
feel in
boundaries are set,
control
right?
a little. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Mm.
it's not going to be like completely open-ended. You still can navigate the situation, I think.
Interesting.
And if I would bring that back to the inclusivity part, because that's also something I'm wondering about. Can a event or an organization or a group also set certain boundaries which you have to meet before they include you? So, for example, you're in a wakeboarding club, and maybe you have like a wakeboarding day out. Can someone who does not want to wakeboard join the group? Or
Oh,
would
yeah,
that be
of
like a
course.
valid reason to say, like, hey, no, you are not welcome?
I mean, right now in Corona times, it wouldn't work because we have to pre-register to go, etc., etc. But on a normal day, let's take it as this. Yeah, you could definitely join, come for a beer, just enjoy the
But like,
gezelligheid.
could there
and-
be a line where a group comes together and they say, like, hey, everyone is welcome, but you have to at least, meet X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, you're missing the point of why we're meeting here. And then, you're not welcome.
I mean, so it's not someone that I would know then. It would not be a friend of mine.
No. Just like, let's say, for example, you go to a rally
Yeah.
for some extremists believe, and those people say, hey, you're more than welcome to come, but you do have to join in our activities. Otherwise, we don't want you there. Would that be like a valid reason to exclude people? Or should always anybody be welcome with whatever we organize just because they're human and you're always welcome?
Well, the stupid point that they would be making is that they're confirming my bias. They're just gonna if they exclude me because I want to try to understand them and get to know them and give them a chance, and they exclude me right away, it's just gonna confirm every bias that I have of them, and it's on them. Then they're making the mistake. But
All right, let me phrase it maybe a little less extreme one. So
Yeah.
let's say, for example, you're going to a soccer match and I invite Mila and she insists that she is going to throw the ball.
yeah,
Can we then say, like, hey, everyone's welcome to play, but you have to oblige by these rules, otherwise you're excluded. If you don't want to kick the ball and you want to grab it by your hands, then you're not, like, no longer allowed to play.
I mean, that's what we said earlier. I think there's a limit to inclusivity, obviously. So I guess in that sense, if you are coming to a game and you want to start the game by being the one shooting the ball, but you're not a football player, I don't think it applies to the rules of football or of the FIFA or of any
But
stadium.
maybe instead of excluding someone then here, if I want to throw the ball, you could just advise me to play basketball, have alternatives maybe. Or if somebody wants to join something and it's maybe not for them, then you can also give them maybe other things they could try out instead and not make them feel left completely out and alone, like standing on a big football field or something,
Yeah.
I would like to take a moment to address chat because there's a few posts talking about. There are some really good questions which I'll get to in a second, but there's a post talking about how we're not really talking about different social identities, and I just want to really confirm that the topic of today, which we've made clear through our social media, Instagram, we posted it through the mail as well, is inclusivity. And it's not necessarily, we've been in this for like 30 minutes, so I'm going to ask you, for the person that posted this, to be a little patient, because we'll get to sexuality, we'll get to genders and stuff, but please, to keep everything relaxed, don't think that we're going to skip through things, because this will be about 2 hours, maybe 1.5 hours, so we'll get to we'll get to sexuality, all right? So let's keep the chat also a kind place for everybody. And therefore, there's a person that has experienced something about exclusion, and it says, whenever I'm on a party and I say that I don't drink alcohol, I get kind of excluded. Have you guys seen that in your lives? Doing maybe certain actions, skipping the small ones, and then being excluded or looked about weird?
Well, I also don't drink alcohol at parties.
So there's an expert on the table.
Relate. Yeah, and it's been very hard, especially if you're a teenager and that's all that people do. You get just not invited to things anymore at all. But then I also really thought that those are then not my real friends if they cannot even accept that I don't drink alcohol, because I'm very fun even without alcohol.
That is true.
So it's hard, of course, but maybe also I don't try to put it that much in focus. Like, I'm not sitting there and be like frowning upon people or yeah, I just try not to make a big deal out of it. Sometimes, of course, it sucks when you play drinking games and then there's like that one drunk guy that's like, you can't play if you're not drinking. And then I have like my little cola and I'm like, well, there's
but-
sugar and caffeine in this.
Exactly, but then those people suck.
Yeah,
Just like,
exactly.
then
But it still
why would
hurts
you want
at
to-
some
yeah,
point, you
fair.
know?
No, obviously, especially when you're younger, you know, your opinions are not necessarily like super strong in your mind. So I get it. But then on the other hand, you know, like when you put it into perspective, you're like, well, do I actually want to be friends with that guy if he excludes me just because I'm drinking water?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's also what I then thought, and then I just try to find my friends at the party again and
yeah.
have fun. Or I also can find people that will drink. Like when you play drinking games, you have like one person sitting next to you that's just in it for the drinking,
Yeah.
and I'm just for the playing part. So you know you can
mix and
you can,
match.
find people that will drink your beer. You know.
Exactly, make
Nice.
teams.
I don't know. There are small things you can obviously do, of course. But I really do understand that it's hard and you feel left out a lot of the times. But the more you do that, the easier it gets as well. And at some point, you just really don't care anymore, and you're just having fun at a party.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you
Maybe
can
I can,
always go to people and talk to them, and it doesn't need to be about alcohol or the level of drunkenness.
No.
Maybe I can give a little perspective from the other side. So radical honesty. I have definitely been on the giving end of this when I was younger. Not necessarily excluding people, but definitely telling them like, "Hi, come on, man, it's a drinking game. Grab a drink. Don't be a pussy." You know, kind of like hyping each
Oh
other
my God,
up.
you're my nightmare.
Oh yeah. I've definitely had that phase in my life, so I'm just going to be honest in that regard. And I think if you do actually get excluded for not doing that the people that are telling you that, they are also trying to rationalize their own behavior,
Yeah.
right? Because and I'm speaking from personal experience, right? I needed to drink in order to feel like I was really confident and I was really able to be social. And then if somebody else is basically, because by denying that you want to drink, basically what you're signaling to me is, I don't need this to be confident and enjoy myself, which I do. And in that sense, that attacks you in a way, right? You feel more insecure about that because then you think, I need this and she doesn't need this.
I never thought about it that way, actually.
Well, that is usually how it
So
goes.
amazing.
Interesting.
Which
Yeah.
is why I wanted to offer this for perspective. So I think also for the people giving that, they don't want to exclude you, but they might feel just attacked in a way, or they might feel more insecure. And then usually when you're insecure, you just build the walls even higher. And then you start, really confirming your own belief even more. You're like, no, I'm doing the right thing. You drink more and you just get even more aggressive because, it feels like you are being attacked. So that might be, I think if you're like denying it and you're like, I'm not drinking, that you actually might be, it's a power move. And then try to show some love for the person who's trying to push you and just think, that person is being ignorant right now. And it doesn't really come from a bad place. It usually comes from a place of insecurity.
That actually perfectly answers the next comment, because this person, when we went on to talk, he or she or they, them, commented, from my experience, other people make a big deal out of it, but I wouldn't say these people suck. And some of them are really nice people which just have wrong beliefs. And there's an other person saying, power to you, Mila, same situation here.
Nice.
I got the fans.
But yeah, becoming live chat famous now.
Oh my God.
So I think it's great you guys gave both perspective, because my twin brother doesn't drink, but I'm always curious because I do drink. So it's like always a family clash. But thank you so much for giving that opinion, for sure. Let's do some comments because the chat's kind of, we're
Going
getting
mayhem.
famous.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Keep the interaction coming.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're here for.
There's a question. You're talking a lot about very obvious forms of exclusion. We talked about like drinking, substance abuse, events, techno and stuff. But how about the subtle homophobia, transphobia, and racism, which is very prominent across institutions and higher education? How do you guys experience that in your daily lives, maybe your weekly lives, whatever? But how do you guys experience that, the subtleness of maybe some discrimination?
Yeah, there is some positive discrimination. For instance, when you're bi and you hang out with girls, they tend to be like, "Oh well, you can help me like choose an outfit." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I can help you choose an outfit because I'm from Paris, so I know fashion." But, but I can't. But where I put my penis doesn't make me more able to help you decide whether you should wear a blouse or a skirt. Like, I mean, both would be preferable actually in that sense, but but yeah, exactly. So there is this sort of positive discrimination. There is also this like, but as specifically for bi people, I would say, there is this subtle sometimes like, oh no, but you're gay. I mean, okay, it's not completely untrue, but this is not completely it. So being so reductive, and I know they don't mean it wrong, like I definitely do, and I usually tell them like, yeah, well, you made a little mistake here, but it is something that every time, because you're like, okay, so the fact that they don't say bi just feels like, okay, so bi isn't a thing. And the thing is that is very recurrent in the LGBT community as well, that I get like, for instance, if I'm texting with someone or meeting someone and I tell them that I'm bi, most of them are going to be super okay with it. But there are some people that are going to be like, oh, but it's just a phase. Or is it really a thing? Do you really like both?
It's just a phase.
Like, yeah. Like one thing that I think really illustrated perfectly, I was having a few beers close to the docks in Paris and with a few friends from Brussels. And like this guy was like, yeah, but what is your percentage exactly? and
are we going to do math right here?
Honestly, you laugh, but I've had this question so many times. I don't count it. And a friend of mine that was sitting next to me, I was about to, like, he saw my face and I was about to answer, but I'm not someone who's going to be like, what the fuck is this question? I'm going to answer. It's fine. I'd rather answer the question than make a big deal out of it. And he was like, what the hell is this question? Like, percentage? Does he look like a robot to you that he can like adapt the settings? Like, no. So what the fuck is this question? He likes both. End of the story. Like, I know it's hard to understand. I took a long time to understand, but still it's there. Just take it as like whatever, like both are okay. And yeah, I mean, again,
was he genuinely interested? Like, do you think he said it just to kind of fuck around? Or was he someone who just genuinely had no clue, had never met a bi person, and he's just like trying to figure this out?
Yeah.
Percentage, like how does that work?
Mathematics.
Yeah, maybe he's like a very beta dude or girl is like a very beta, never talked to a bi person. You think it was like genuine curiosity, or
don't
just
generalize beta people, Fran.
I need to really watch my words
Yes.
today. Beta, like beta science, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
No, but to answer your question, like, yeah, it's most of the time it's because people don't understand. So it's out of curiosity, and they do mean it. They really do. So that's why, like, I'd rather answer a dumb question kindly than making them feel dumb and making them feel like their questions are not welcome here. Like, I think that's just not the way to go about it. It's a silly question. Yes, okay, but I mean, so many people come to you every day with silly questions. You still answer, right? You don't tell them that they're idiots at every turn.
But should you be able to say that you're uncomfortable by these questions? Because I think that's also very important here. Because basically it's your life, and when people make you uncomfortable, most people don't have the courage to say something, or it's just a lot easier to ignore something like that. And I just thought about it a lot in the last few weeks, because I also talked about it with my friends, and I'm like, where's the line here? Do people just do stuff because they don't want the drama or something? Because if we feel uncomfortable, I feel like we should also be able to say that and be respected for that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you feel, and I mean, I think I do make that clear when I answer the question every time. I just make it very clear, like, well, I just like both, Of course, it depends. Like, sometimes my sexuality is more prominent than from one day to the next. But like, in general, if I think the thing that would make me the most uncomfortable is when they assume something. So for instance, when my friends, and especially my girlfriends, say, oh no, but you're gay, or like shit like this, that definitely makes me uncomfortable, because they assume something that isn't there. And it's something that came about with a lot of effort and a lot of time, and kind of seeing this being swept away, it's not a pleasant feeling. But the question about the percentage, I'm just like, well, it doesn't really work with percentages. Like, if you want to take my body count, fine, we'll make the numbers. But like, this is like how my mind works. Is that it's more fluid, and it's just, yeah. So that I think it depends on the question. I think if you really feel uncomfortable, you should definitely make that like clear to the person, and because you are entitled to your feelings. But I think that denying them the comfort of asking questions when they're putting in interest, that is not helping you, and that's not helping, if I can call it, the cause.
Okay.
So it's, yeah.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah, I think so too. It's also interesting that they called you a different label, like, because labeling is, we work so hard for the labels, I think, and then just to sweep your label off the table and give you another one, I think that probably feels bad on occasions.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it does not make me feel comfortable. Now, I don't necessarily pick it up every single time, because like sometimes it's meant as a joke and you can clearly see it, but sometimes it's just not. And in that sense, I always pick it up though. If it's really like, well, I'm like, okay, no, this is not the way you should phrase this, then yeah, I always say it, but I don't need to be aggressive about it.
Fair. Is it a thin line to walk between the joke and the real, genuine questions?
Yeah, because it very much depends on the situation. It very much depends on the person, because as much as they could be your best friend, depending on the situation, it's something that you should be a bit mindful of.
Sure. Have you guys experienced that as well? That some people tend to walk the thin ice of asking too intrusive questions that makes you feel uncomfortable from time to time?
I mean, I'm a very open person, and I'm like willing to talk about pretty much anything, right? I also talked about a whole bunch of shit, even online. I don't really care that much, but I do think it's interesting to think about the balance between what you say, me feeling offended or me maybe feeling emotional in a way, and someone else asking questions. So my personal belief on this is that I always try to be the kindest person I can to others and the most thoughtful person that I can be to others. But simultaneously, I try to build myself into the person who can take anything, right? So I never expect others to do it to me. Like, people can ask me any question and I don't expect them to do that. But the other way around, I would... Sorry, someone just waved outside of the window.
No.
Completely off track. I would always try to be thoughtful to other people. And I think when you're learning about your own identity, right, which for me was also difficult when I was younger, like, who am I and why the fuck am I here? That was more my kind of question, like very existential. Then it can definitely be difficult if people ask you sensitive questions. And I think that's why I want to be sensitive to other people. I think we should support each other in that way. But I think we should also support each other and ourselves in a way that we become anti-fragile, which is this concept that when we stress test ourselves, we only get stronger, right? And if I'm going to limit myself to beliefs or opinions or questions that harm me, I will also never become stronger towards those questions. So if I create this space around me where I basically say, I don't want to be confronted with this question because it makes me feel uncomfortable, or I don't want to be confronted with this situation because it makes me feel uncomfortable, I will never learn to be comfortable in that situation. So over time, I'd like to be the person that isn't offended easily, and I'm not offended easily. Probably you could offend me, but it's not easy. But then on the flip side, I always try. But then on the flip side, I try to be a thoughtful person to other people. So that would be like my way of looking at that.
Interesting. It's also, I'm interested in where you say that we should all become, well, no, that's me twisting your words, sorry. About the fact that you'd like to become less fragile and that you'd wish that upon others maybe. But how far can like someone, because we can all build up our walls and be very like strong, but how far can people then try to push you in their jokes and in their comments,
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, if I can bounce on that, actually, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because what you're saying is that we should be strong, but then a lot of people might interpret that as becoming numb. So if you want to be comfortable, it would be just like, yeah, just learn how to be okay with this. But the thing is, there are topics where you can't just be okay with this, and you're entitled to being offended. So I agree with you that we should be comfortable with approaching the topic, but it doesn't mean that you should necessarily feel comfortable about it. Like, you can't be comfortable, I think, with everything.
No, that's true. You definitely can't be comfortable with everything. I would then ask you the question, do you like to be offended?
I like to be challenged. Now, offended, I'm not going to say I like it. But exactly as you said, honestly, it takes a while for me to get offended. You can ask me anything, but of course, that's something that's very personal. And it's not related to my sexuality or anything. It's related to who I am and what I believe in. So if you come up to me with questions, I just take it as you are showing interest. And I would like to share with you what's up with this and my experience. And if I can not make you a better person, but give you the opportunity to understand me better and then understand others that are like me better, then it's totally worth it.
Yes.
It's totally
and I mean,
worth it.
It's still a question. I always, when somebody asks me a question I'm uncomfortable with, I'm like, I have the power to decide if I want to answer this or if I don't want to answer this. And I think that's also a step that you have. Most people skip it and then they answer something and then later on they're like, oh, I was uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
But you still have that power to decide if you want to answer or not.
Exactly.
And it is okay to say, I'm not comfortable answering this. People are not going to point and laugh at you. And
They
if
can't
that
force
happens-
you to say anything.
Exactly. They cannot hack your brain. So
No,
All right,
and-
to tie into that, because I obviously I asked the question for a reason, because from my personal perspective, I don't like being in negative states of mind, and being offended to me is a negative state of mind. So from a personal well-being standpoint, I like to train myself to the sort of individual that has a very little experiences that are negative, offended being one of them. The way to be less offended to me is by slowly making, like in psychology they would call this minimal exposure therapy, where you start slowly to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So you don't want to go outside the comfort zone too fast, too quick, because then you create trauma, right? So maybe you are just figuring out your sexuality. You just discovered. Oh.
Wait.
wow.
So, what do
That
we...
was a very unexpected
Yes.
Friday afternoon.
Wait, so what do we do now?
What time is it now?
It is 10 minutes before 6.
Well,
you want to
that's-
stay here overnight, people?
Very painful.
For the chat, there was just a live announcement that the school here closes at 6, and we didn't know that, so... Yeah.
The stream will focus on you, Lucy.
Okay.
I cannot switch around the cameras.
That's okay. Okay, so our IT guy is going to check out what's happening right now.
We'll
but-
just continue the conversation.
Yeah, we'll just continue the conversation because there was also a very interesting question that came about for this, which is, or where you're gonna finish your
Let me
sentence?
finish my thought, and then we
Then
can.
we'll take another interesting question.
Because if you go too far outside of that comfort zone in one go, that's when you create trauma, right? So you have come to the realization maybe you're bi, and then if I go way too intense, way too quick, way too judgy, that might really traumatize you. But I think for myself, I would try to expose myself a little bit more, which is probably also the reason, I think you probably did that, which is why the reason that you can handle these questions quite well.
Yeah.
And you don't actually get super triggered, but you can actually understand that in a way. So that's kind of how I would look at being offended, and also training myself to be less offended.
So you see being offended as losing your temper then?
No, I just see it as a negative. I don't like being offended because it doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel nice.
Okay, that might be for another discussion, but then I personally believe that negative experience and emotions are as important and as much of a sign of being alive and enjoying life, that you can't, putting them away or doing your best to put them away is something that is going to backfire at some point.
That's why I don't think you should suppress them.
Okay.
Right. I'm into meditation a lot, which is always dealing with this issue, because people always ask me are you suppressing your emotions? I'm not suppressing my emotions. I'm embracing them and learning to observe them. But I think there's definitely people who have more depressed and negative lives, and there's people who have more positive lives. I'm not talking about like toxic positivity in the way that you're always like experiencing pleasure and super happy, but other things like gratitude, you know, harmony, peace, just being balanced. I'd rather live a balanced and grateful life than live a unbalanced and hateful or offended or spiteful life.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, now I see. What
That's
you mean.
kind of what
Okay,
I'm. What
okay.
I, yeah.
So you're not erasing negativity out of your life. You're just building around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're just trying to not then give too much power to like hateful comments, and because people sometimes you hear like a negative comment and then they think about it for like weeks and it drags them down and their energy levels are so low and they
Feels
just
the
get
vibe.
so grumpy with it that I think that's more what you mean. Like if somebody makes a hateful comment, you observe it and you reflect on it, but you don't allow it to have that much power over you.
No, preferably I would even turn it around and then turn that into compassion for the other person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
they're
that's
probably pretty
next
ignorant.
level though.
Right, they're ignorant for asking that question. They don't know
Yeah.
that. So it comes from a place of ignorance. So I wish them well and hope that they actually find a way to, you know, not be in that state of mind anymore.
Exactly, and if I can just bounce on that as well, something that you should, and as a little tip, something that you should always think of when something like this happens to you, so something that would offend you, or it's a negative comment, or something that's insulting, always look at who is saying it, because it tells you so much more about the value of this comment and how you can assign value to it, that then you're going to be like, okay, yeah, well, if it's coming from a good friend that knows you for a long time, okay, this is something maybe you should analyze a bit deeper and take it into account. If it's a random person on the street that insults you for what you're wearing or whose hands you're holding, then, I mean, again, it's a stranger. It's probably someone, if they've come to this far to actually insult you in the middle of the street out of nowhere for no reason, it's probably that they have something going on in their lives that fucks them up.
Exactly. That's a very powerful framing and idea.
I got some very unfortunate news. We do need to leave this building in 20 minutes.
All right.
And that is very unfortunate. So, because there's a lot of good questions coming into the chat, but we also have to reconstruct this room because
We'll do that on Monday.
Yeah.
Let's just keep this rolling for 20 more minutes and then we can wrap it up.
Because we need to wrap it up. We need to be like down there in 20 minutes before 20 minutes are over. What you can do, if it's warm enough, is we can set up 2 cams or 1 cam. Just have a wide shot with a good microphone and then go outside, or we can stop it on Friday.
outside. I don't think we should
Oh,
live
let's
stream
set up.
outside. Yeah, we're unfortunately. I'm really sorry for the live stream, but we're gonna have to stop. This is very unforeseen and unfortunate. But the question that you also answered from that was coming in is about. Let me check it out. Isn't it easier for people to be less fragile when they aren't from the more widely accepted groups in society? White, hetero, cis, Christian.
Can you repeat one more time?
Isn't it easier for people to be less fragile when they aren't from the more widely accepted groups in society, like white, straight, white males?
So it's
basically?
easier for a white straight male to be less fragile.
Yes, would
Is
you
that-
say so?
Not necessarily. It could be, but I'm also a firm believer of the thought that tough times make strong people and soft times make soft people. So I actually think, and you see this on American campuses a lot, where it's especially white privileged kids in universities who are actually the most fragile. They've been really helicopter parent. They've always been excluded from painful experiences, and they're very easily triggered because they have always lived in a safe environment. Whereas maybe if you take an immigrant, like my father, he was an immigrant here. He's come from Kosovo. My family was in a war 20 years ago. Those people are super resilient because they've been through so much. So I don't think that is necessarily the case. Although I guess, yeah, it's really an individual thing. And it does. Some people break. Like if you have too much trauma and too much negativity, especially at a young age, it can really just fuck you over for life. But if it's not that bad and you actually channel it in a good way, I think you might even be better off than someone who never experienced those adversities.
Interesting. I will ask. There's one really good question I think we should have for last. This is so unfortunate, but here we go. Because someone is curious about what we, as individuals and as people from BeMore, do to increase inclusivity. That's the question that we'll have for last. So I'll give you guys a little moment.
I mean, I'm not from BeMore,
No, but-
so it's probably best if I answer first, maybe, because I'm a bit more objective. Personally, I think BeMore is very inclusive in the sense that, like, I mean, if you meet Fran, he will straight away talk to you about BeMore. If you meet like anyone from BeMore, they will also mention it if they feel like it's something that you could be interested in. And it's always like, if you want to be part of it, it's really, I mean, you can be part of it. And then it's up to you if you want to participate to the challenges. I mean, you guys are very flexible when it comes to membership of feeling a member of this community. So I don't know what you could do to increase this inclusivity so people don't feel left out, that they have the opportunity to join, and that they feel like there's enough tolerance in the group so that they can share the experience. Or for instance, like before you guys closed off the chat, share like if they have, I don't know, a internship or another workshop from another association. You guys never really shut that off. So I would be interested if people actually do have tips for you guys. But from my side, I feel like BeMore is a very open door. So, yeah.
And as a person in your personal life, what do you do that's inclusive in your ways? Probably all of it.
What do you mean exactly?
What is your actions? Like, are you very open to people, for example? Do you accept everything? Probably you do.
I mean, I don't know if I accept everything, because I do believe I've got my biases like everyone else, but I do really enjoy like getting to meet new people and hearing about their life and what do they do and what do they believe in. And I mean, I think that's also why I decided to like study psychology, because I find humans fascinating. So I would also say that I'm a fairly approachable person. So I'd say I try my best to be as inclusive as possible, but there's always things that I could do better for sure.
All right, so I think the time is about to run out. I just got some signals from Tim.
Oh, yeah.
So what I would actually suggest, if the people in the chat just let us know if they like this discussion, that we just continue it at a later point, and that we just get the four of us in here again and just do it when the school is not closing down.
Honestly,
which
there's
is
a very
very
funny comment.
exclusive.
There's a very funny comment